$500,000 in superannuation. Sounds like a lot of money. For most Australians, reaching a $500,000 super balance represents decades of work, decades of contributions, and decades of telling themselves they are on track. So I did the calculation. I sat down with the actual numbers, the 2026 ASFA retirement standards, the current age pension rates, the real return assumptions, and the inflation figures, and I worked out exactly what $500,000 in super actually buys you in retirement across 6 different scenarios. And I have to be honest with you, the answer shocked me, not because the number is catastrophic, but because the gap between what most Australians imagine $500,000 will deliver and what it actually delivers in practice is wide enough to completely change how you need to plan. Today, I'm walking you through every one of those calculations, the good scenarios, the difficult ones, and the one that most people never consider, but probably should. Before we get into the numbers, let's establish what we're measuring against. ASFA, the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia, publishes a quarterly retirement standard that tells us what a comfortable retirement and a modest retirement actually cost in today's dollars. In 2026, a comfortable retirement for a single Australian costs $51,805 per year. A comfortable retirement for a couple costs $73,337 per year. A modest retirement, covering basic needs without much discretionary spending, costs $33,134 for a single and $47,731 for a couple. These figures cover housing, food, transport, healthcare, clothing, and a reasonable level of leisure. Not luxury, just a dignified and stable life. The question we're answering today is simple. If you retire with exactly $500,000 in super and nothing else changes, which of those lifestyles can you actually sustain? For how long and under what conditions? This is the scenario most Australians picture when they imagine retiring on $500,000. You stop working, you start drawing income from your super, and you live off the returns and the principal combined at a 5% annual drawdown rate on $500,000, which is the figure most financial planners consider sustainable. Over a 20 to 25-year period, you generate $25,000 per year. That is $481 per week before tax. A $500,000 balance in pension phase generates tax-free income, so the full $25,000 reaches you. But $25,000 per year sits well below ASFA modest single retirement standard of $33,134, meaning that a 5% drawdown from $500,000 doesn't even fund a modest retirement, let alone a comfortable one. To fund a comfortable single retirement of $51,805 entirely from super at a 5% drawdown, you need $1,036,100 in super. $500,000 gets you to 48% of that target. The runway matters too. At a 5% drawdown on $500,000, with a 6% average annual return, modeling shows the balance is largely depleted by approximately age 84. For someone retiring at 67, leaving a significant longevity risk for Australians who live into their late 80s or 90s, which the ABS life expectancy data shows is increasingly common. This is the scenario that changes the picture considerably, and it's the one most single retirees with $500,000 will actually find themselves in. The age pension assets test in 2026 means that a single homeowner with $500,000 in super and no other assets qualifies for part age pension at exactly $500,000 in assets. A single homeowner receives a part pension of approximately $612 per fortnight, which is $15,912 per year. Under the current tapering rules, combined with a 5% drawdown from super generating $25,000 per year, the total annual income in this scenario is approximately $40,912. That sits above the ASFA modest retirement standard of $33,134 and within meaningful reach of the comfortable standard at $51,805. The picture here is not dire, but it requires understanding the interaction between super drawdowns and pension entitlements, something most Australians with $500,000 have never modeled. The critical planning point is that drawing down super reduces your assessable assets over time, which actually increases your age pension entitlement as retirement progresses, meaning income can stabilize and even improve in later years as the balance reduces. This counterintuitive dynamic is one of the most important features of the Australian retirement system that almost nobody explains clearly. For a couple retiring together with $500,000 in combined superannuation, split roughly $300,000 and $200,000 between partners, the calculation shifts again. The couple assets test threshold for a full age pension in 2026 is $451,500 for homeowners. At $500,000 in combined assets, they are $48,500 above the full pension threshold, which means their couple pension is reduced by the taper rate of $3 per fortnight for every $1,000 above the threshold. The reduction amounts to approximately $145.50 per fortnight, reducing the full couple pension of $1,682.80 per fortnight to approximately $1,537.30 per fortnight, which is $40,000 per year, combined with a 5% drawdown from the $500,000 super balance, generating $25,000 per year. The couple's total income is approximately $65,000 per year. That sits comfortably above the ASFA comfortable couple retirement standard of $73,337. Not quite, it's about $8,000 short, but it funds a genuinely comfortable retirement when combined with typical concession card benefits, healthcare card entitlements, and reduced transport costs that come with the age pension. The couple scenario on $500,000 combined is substantially more viable than the single scenario, which highlights why retirement planning for couples must always model both partners together, not separately. Here is the scenario that genuinely shocked me when I ran the numbers. Everything we've discussed so far is in today's dollars, but retirement is not today. It's in the future, and the future has inflation. For a 47-year-old planning to retire at 67, we're talking about a 20-year inflation journey before retirement even begins. At the RBA's target inflation rate of 2.5% per year, the purchasing power of today's $500,000 in 20 years is equivalent to approximately $303,000 in today's terms. That means a 47-year-old who reaches $500,000 in super today and contributes nothing further, which is unrealistic but illustrative, will arrive at retirement with the purchasing power equivalent of $303,000 in today's money, not $500,000, but more importantly, the retirement income target itself inflates over the same period. ASFA comfortable single standard of $51,805 today will cost approximately $84,800 per year in nominal terms by the time that 47-year-old retires at 67. Assuming 2.5% annual inflation, the $500,000 super balance they're targeting today, even if it grows to $800,000 in nominal terms by then, may still fall short of funding that inflated comfortable retirement standard. This is not a reason to despair. It is a reason to understand that the target balance you're working toward today needs to be regularly recalculated against future inflation, not just current ASFA standards. This is the scenario most retirement calculators deliberately obscure because it's uncomfortable to model. Two Australians retire at 67 with identical $500,000 super balances, identical 5% average annual returns, and identical $25,000 annual drawdowns. The only difference is market timing. Retiree experiences strong returns in years 1 through 5 of retirement. Their balance grows before they draw it down significantly, and they are largely insulated from the impact of later market corrections. At age 87, retiree A has approximately $180,000 remaining in super. Retiree B experiences a 25% market correction in years 1 and 2 of retirement. Not unusual given the frequency of corrections in Australian market history. Their balance falls from $500,000 to $375,000 before stabilizing, while they're still drawing $25,000 per year. The mathematical recovery required to get back to the same trajectory as retiree A is significant, and the modeling shows retiree B's super balance is largely depleted by age 80, 7 years earlier than retiree A, despite identical average returns over the full period. The practical solution to sequence of returns risk is a cash buffer, 12 to 24 months of living expenses held outside super in a high-interest savings account or offset account. That allows you to draw living expenses from cash during a market correction. Rather than liquidating super at depressed prices, a $50,000 to $70,000 cash buffer, maintained alongside a $500,000 super balance, doesn't reduce your retirement wealth. It protects the sequence that determines how long that wealth lasts. Here is the scenario where $500,000 in super genuinely works, and it requires 4 specific conditions to be in place simultaneously. First, the balance must be in pension phase, generating tax-free investment income and tax-free drawdowns. Second, the retiree must be a homeowner, eliminating rent as an ongoing expense and preserving age pension homeowner thresholds. Third, the drawdown strategy must be coordinated with age pension entitlements, drawing down super in a way that maximizes the combined super plus pension income, rather than treating them as independent. And fourth, a cash buffer of at least 12 months of living expenses must be maintained to manage sequence of returns risk. Under these 4 conditions, a single homeowner retiree with $500,000 in super in pension phase, drawing 5% per year, $25,000, receiving a part age pension of approximately $15,912, holding a 12-month cash buffer in a high-interest account, earning 5%, $600 per year on a $12,000 buffer, and holding a Commonwealth Seniors Health Card that provides pharmaceutical and healthcare concessions worth approximately $1,500 to $2,000 per year, generates a total effective annual income of approximately $43,400 to $44,900. That is 84% to 87% of ASFA comfortable single retirement standard, achievable on a $500,000 super balance under optimized conditions. It is not comfortable in the ASFA definition, but it is a stable, dignified, and manageable retirement for someone who owns their home, has no significant debt, and understands how to work the system correctly. 6 scenarios, 6 different answers, all from the same $500,000 starting point. Here is what to do with all of this. First, run your own scenario using the Money Smart Retirement Planner. Input your actual balance, your actual age, your actual homeowner status, and your actual super investment option, and look at the balance at age 90 number to understand your real longevity exposure. Second, if you're within 15 years of retirement, model the age pension interaction with your super drawdown. Understand how drawing down super at different rates changes your pension entitlement over time, because the interaction between the two can increase total income significantly compared to either source alone. Third, calculate your inflation-adjusted retirement income target. Take the ASFA standard that matches your lifestyle. Identify your retirement age and compound at 2.5% per year to understand what that standard will cost in nominal terms when you actually retire. Fourth, build a cash buffer of 12 to 24 months of living expenses outside super before you retire. This single step changes your sequence of returns exposure more than almost any investment decision you can make. Fifth, ensure your super is in pension phase the moment you are eligible. The tax-free income and tax-free investment returns inside pension phase are the single largest structural advantage available to Australian retirees, and every year an accumulation phase that could be in pension phase is a year of unnecessary tax. Sixth, if you own your home and your balance is approaching $500,000, book a free appointment with a financial information service to model the exact age pension interaction for your specific circumstances, because the optimized combined income is significantly higher than either source modeled in isolation. $500,000 in super is not a comfortable retirement by itself. It is not a modest retirement by itself. It is a foundation, and what gets built on that foundation depends entirely on whether you own your home, whether you understand the age pension interaction, whether you manage your drawdown sequence intelligently, and whether you've accounted for the inflation that is quietly changing every one of these numbers. Every single year, the Australians who retire well on $500,000 are not the ones who assumed the number was enough. They are the ones who understood exactly what it would buy, built a plan around the reality rather than the assumption, and made adjustments while they still had time to make them. If these calculations showed you something you needed to see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. More straight-talking Australian finance content every week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.